Hey, Paul, how's life in Rhode Island?
Not good. The Narragansett Runestone, the one with the hooked X, it's gone.
Gone? What do you mean it's gone?
It's not there. I think somebody stole it.
Stole the runestone? I mean, it's a huge boulder. How does somebody get that out of the water? Are you sure?
I'm sure. I went down there at low tide. There's no stone.
Oh, my gosh. Well, this is a problem. We got to handle this right now. I'm going to change my ticket. I'm heading your way, Paul. The history that we were all taught growing up is wrong. My name is Scott Wolter, and I'm a forensic geologist. There's a hidden history that nobody knows about. There are pyramids, chambers, tombs, inscriptions. They're all over the world. We're going to investigate these artifacts and sites, and we're going to get to the truth. Sometimes history isn't what we've been told. I'm a forensic geologist. I make my living studying rocks. One stone has always fascinated me, the Narragansett Stone, a 3-ton boulder that once sat about 60 feet offshore in Rhode Island's Narragansett Bay. What interests me about it is a mysterious symbol etched on the rock's surface. Some academics dismiss it as nothing more than modern graffiti, but I'm convinced there's something more. The symbol is an X with a notch carved in the top right arm. I call it the hooked X. I've seen it on 5 stones in the entire world, including the one that mysteriously disappeared from Narragansett Bay. That's where I'm headed. I want to find out how an enormous boulder, the size of a pool table, just vanished into thin air. I want to know who took it and why. My gut tells me it has everything to do with that symbol. I can't believe it's gone. What the hell?
I know.
I mean,
I've lived here all my life. A rock of that size being removed from the bay, I was stunned.
I knew you weren't lying to me, but I had to see it myself. How did you first find out that it was missing?
Well, I had heard that a kayaker, an amateur archaeologist, was looking to observe the stone. He came out, he couldn't find it. And I came out to help locate it. And I came down here, the stone was gone. It's gone.
Is there any evidence? I mean, has anybody found anything that might tell us something?
Well, you know, the stone was a giant stone.
I know, I've been out here many
And
times.
It would require a professional operation to remove it. By sea, you would need a barge and a crane nearby here.
No, somebody would have seen that.
My conclusion is that it was taken by land. This picture shows, looking towards that shoreline,
That's that
and that
tree
tree,
right there.
you can see the deep rut here, and the movement of all the stones and the dirt as if a sled or big tire tracks, bobcat, I don't know what it was, but you can clearly see it in that direction.
Well, we're talking about a rock that's about 8 feet long, it's about 4 feet wide, probably weighs at least 2-3 tons, and so it probably was dragged along here. Something had to have access at this point. There's one question I want to ask you, Paul, I want to be very clear on. Okay, high tide, it's underwater. Who owns this stone? Is it private land or is it state land?
In Rhode Island, it is state land.
So it belongs to the state. Okay, I just want to be clear on that.
Yes.
So what happened then?
Well, I called my colleagues at the Attorney General's office and alerted them that the stone was missing and that time was of the essence.
So they're on it.
They are taking it seriously.
Good.
Why do you think someone would take this stone?
I think it has to be because of the hooked X, that rare symbol carved on the stone. It connects the boulder and this place to one of the most secretive organizations of all time. People whom I believe discovered America long before Columbus, the Knights Templar. I've been tracking them through this symbol for years. This stone is one of very few artifacts that proves the Templars came to America, and I want to know who the hell took it. I'm investigating the disappearance of the Narragansett Stone. It sat about 60 feet offshore in Rhode Island's Narragansett Bay. It's huge. It would have cost a small fortune to move and been hard to do without someone seeing something. What sets it apart from other stones is a mysterious symbol etched on its surface, a hooked X, which I've seen on other artifacts. I first saw it on the Kensington Runestone, an artifact I was hired to examine 12 years ago. Since then, the hooked X has been a personal passion of mine. I believe the hooked X's on both of these stones were carved by the same group, the Knights Templar. The Templars were a wealthy and powerful medieval military order that I think came to America more than a century before Columbus.
Why do you think anyone would take this stone?
Well, there's a couple of reasons I can think of, but probably the main reason is because there are a lot of people out there that don't want to believe that the Knights Templar came to America prior to Columbus. So that could easily be one reason that this stone was taken, because this is one of the very few runestones that we have in this country with inscriptions that contain a symbol called the hooked X, which absolutely ties it to the Knights Templar.
What's the connection between the hooked X and the Templars?
I tell you what, let's go back to your place, get out of these waders, and I'll tell you about it.
Come on in.
Hey, you rock hound?
Yeah, I've been a lifelong rock collector.
Well, I recognize this one. This is petrified wood. This is from Arizona?
That's right.
Oh, that's beautiful. Hey, wait a minute. That's magnetic. Is that Cumberlandite?
That's Cumberlandite.
No way.
Yep, that is the state rock of Rhode Island.
Wow, that's cool.
Have a seat. I know you're disappointed.
Beyond disappointing, it's a criminal act as far as I'm concerned.
The size of that stone, I never thought somebody would be able to take it out of the bay.
If you had the right equipment, it really wouldn't be that difficult.
What is it that's so significant about this rune stone?
There's a symbol on the stone called the hooked X, and it's the chief piece of evidence that proves to me without a doubt that this is a medieval artifact. And it may not look like much, but it's critically important. I first came across this thing when I did work on the Kensington Runestone, which is another runestone that was found in Minnesota in 1898. It confounded the experts. They could decipher some of it, but they couldn't get it all. Nobody could figure out the hooked X. I was hired in 2000 to do a forensic study on that artifact, and I concluded it has to be genuine.
What exactly did the Kensington Stone say?
Basically, what it details is a trip by 30 people coming from Europe on a land acquisition journey, and it's dated 1362. So that much we know. But being a forensic geologist, I knew that if this thing is genuine, there has to be an explanation for this symbol. There are 5 total runestones that have been found in North America that all have the hooked X. The Kensington Stone, 3 stones found up at Spirit Pond, Maine, and the Narragansett Stone. We also found the hooked X associated with the Knights Templar and Freemasons in a place that's well known to everybody from the Da Vinci Code movie fame, Roslin Chapel. Roslin Chapel in Scotland was built by William Sinclair in 1446. The Sinclairs were a powerful family with strong ties to the Knights Templar. That may be why the hooked X was found inside the chapel. To me, there's no doubt the hooked X is a Templar symbol. The other place that the hooked X has been found is also associated with Templars, but most people don't realize it. In Christopher Columbus's Sigla, he started using the hooked X symbol after he came back from the New World that first time. Columbus was a member of the Knights of Christ. That's what the Knights Templar in Portugal were called. All 3 of his ships, The Nina, the Pinta, and the Santa Maria flew flags showing the Templar cross. Columbus also married into the Sinclair family, who built Roslyn Chapel, the same chapel where I spotted the hooked X. You know, Paul, there's a lot of people that don't want to believe that the Knights Templar came to America before Columbus, but I know they did. And the Kensington Runestone, the Spirit Pond Runestones, and the Narragansett Runestone prove that they did.
But why would the Templars come to America?
Well, I think you have to go back to Europe and take a look at the Cistercians first. The Cistercians founded the Knights Templar, who were the guys with the swords. They were the fighting force for not just the Cistercians, but for the church. But ultimately, the Templars became too powerful, and the church and the King of France became concerned that they might take over. And in fact, I think that's what they were trying to do. And they also believed in things that the church didn't. In 1307, both the King of France combining with the Pope in Rome basically outlawed the Knights Templar. And so they were disbanded. They were arrested, they were tortured, and they were burned. Within a day after that, the King of France went to the port of La Rochelle, where the Templar fleet was anchored, and those ships were gone. So the question is, what happened to those ships? I think they came over here to North America. And I think they came over here for two reasons. The number one reason they came here, so they could practice their religious faith without persecution. And I think they also came here to protect a secret.
What secret?
The secret of the Holy Grail.
You mean the cup of Christ from Jesus' Last Supper?
That's what a lot of people think, that the Holy Grail is a cup, but I don't think it's a cup. I believe, and I'm firmly convinced, that the Holy Grail is actually the bloodline that dates back to Jesus and Mary Magdalene. That union produced offspring and ancestors. In fact, I believe the leadership of the Knights Templar are the descendants of Jesus and Mary Magdalene. And once the church realized this, the war was on. So they had to leave and come over here. If he's a human being, and if he had children, he and his wife Mary Magdalene had children, what would that do to the Roman Church? It would destroy their very foundation. So they had to put that down. That's the real reason that they arrested, tortured, and burned the Knights Templar. Remember that hooked X?
Yeah.
All right. Here's the symbolism that it represents. If we take the X and we chop it in half, okay? You end up with a V and a peak, right? Well, the V is a symbol for the feminine. It represents the vessel, the chalice, the womb, the symbol for the female. When you invert that 180 degrees, you end up with the sword, the phallic, the penis, the symbol for the male. When you combine them together to make an X, you have the allegorical union of male and female, heaven and earth, good, bad, light, dark, this whole concept of dualism, okay? We understand what this symbolism is with the X, but what's the hook? That's the key question.
A child?
That's exactly what you see. You know, a lot of people say that this symbol also represents the Holy Trinity, the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. In the case of the hooked X, here's what I think the Holy Trinity is. Jesus, Mary Magdalene, and their child. Tell you what, let me show you something else. This was given to me by a Masonic Knights Templar. This is a photograph of a life-size sculpture that was commissioned back in 1531. This particular property where this sculpture was made was a former Templar commandery, okay? This is Jesus, this is Mary Magdalene. Now, what do you see here?
She looks pregnant.
I think that this represents the hooked X ideology right here. This is Jesus here, the male, Mary Magdalene, the female, and right there is the child. That's what the hooked X means. Wow. So what we see depicted here is the Holy Bloodline, and I think the Holy Bloodline is the Holy Grail.
So how does this all connect to the Narragansett Stone?
Because the hooked X is on there, and the hooked X represents the Holy Grail. And I think that the Narragansett Runestone was a signpost that was supposed to be left for the followers to lead them to the Holy Grail. The missing Narragansett Stone isn't the only place I've seen the hooked X symbol. I've seen it on other stones, in documents, and in structures connected to the Knights Templar and Freemasons. I think the hooked X symbolizes the belief that Jesus and Mary Magdalene had a child. Following the hooked X may lead us to the Holy Grail. People disagree about what exactly the Holy Grail is. The cup Jesus drank from at the Last Supper? Knowledge? Treasure? Maybe something else. But I think part of the Grail is proof of Jesus' bloodline.
I can't believe it. The Narragansett Runestone is gone. We've lost a critical piece of evidence that proves that the Templars came to America before Columbus. I mean, we got to figure out a way to get it back.
I'm astounded that the rock is missing. I never thought it was possible.
We saw those marks, and I'm convinced it was taken by the shore, not out to sea. You know, I've been trying to get that stone protected for years, to get it preserved, to get it to a place where it can be properly studied and out of the weather, out of the water.
We've got to find that stone.
It's unfortunate because now that critical information is missing that can help us solve this mystery. We have to figure out a way to get that stone back. Well, Paul, I've got another interesting thing I'm going to be investigating. The Kensington Runestone has a dot code embedded within it.
I believe the Kensington Runestone was a Templar artifact, a coded clue hinting to the location of the Holy Grail.
What the carver did is he made punch marks on certain characters within the inscription. The first 4 letters that are singled out by punch marks are G-R-A-L, which spells Graal. In medieval Old Swedish, it spells Grail, that Grail. And many people have said, oh, that's crap. We don't believe that. The skeptics think these are incidental marks. They don't believe that they're man-made. So what I'm going to do is conduct a study with a 3D digital microscope to try to make the determination once and for all if they're man-made and if they were intentional.
If the word Grail was intentionally carved on this stone here in America, I think it's a clue that the Grail itself is here in America too.
Well, Darwin, it's great to see you again.
Well, Scott, it's great to see you, and exactly what are you up to today?
We brought some new technology here to look at the Kensington Runestone. This is the Keans 3D digital microscope, and it's the latest technology that really takes us to the next level as far as examining the stone. And you've probably heard about the Grail code and the punch marks that make that. Some of the skeptics have suggested there is no such thing. So what we're going to do today is try to make a determination if the punch marks that spell out Grail, whether or not they're man-made or accidental or natural.
On the Kensington Runestone, punch marks are part of 4 separate runes. Those letters spell G-R-A-L. That's how Grail is spelled in the language used on the stone. If I can prove those dots were added after the runes were made, it means they were marked for a reason. Maybe as a secret way for the Templars to acknowledge they brought Jesus' bloodline to America.
First off, these are definitely man-made. The punch mark is very circular, it's larger than the line, and it's much deeper than the line. So no question that it's man-made. It was clearly made after the original line or groove was made, and then the punch was added. This confirms that the Grail code was done after the inscription was carved. This is really important.
That's awesome, Scott.
And the fact that we have Grail on the Kensington Runestone now allows me to investigate the next clue in this whole hooked X mystery. Amazingly enough, I believe that I found another version of the hooked X inside the alleged tomb of Jesus himself.
My research into the runestone and the hooked X led me to something called the Talpiot tomb, which was discovered in Jerusalem in 1980. There's a version of a hooked X inside the tomb on a stone box marked Jesus, son of Joseph. This could be the first place the hooked X was used to acknowledge the controversial theory that Jesus had a child.
Hey, Jerry.
Hi, Scott.
Hey, grab a chair.
Glad to.
I wanted to meet with you because I have a discovery that I made that I think you're going to find very interesting. I know you'll recognize this picture on the Talpiot tomb in Jerusalem.
Yes, I am part of a team of researchers who've been looking into this tomb. This tomb was uncovered in 1980, and when the tomb was opened, it was discovered there were 10 ossuaries inside this tomb. Now, an ossuary is a bone box. When Jews of this time were buried, their bones were placed inside these bone boxes and then placed inside of these tombs in burial niches or small tunnels.
You said there were 10 ossuaries found in this?
Yes, and what's remarkable about these 10 ossuaries is that there were names inscribed on these ossuaries. These are names that you'll recognize from your New Testament readings as associated with the family of Jesus.
What are those names?
Well, the big one, of course, is Jesus, son of Joseph. We have a Mary, potentially the mother of Jesus. We have a Yosef, some people think of as the brother of Jesus. We have a Mary Amene, who people associate with Mary Magdalene. We actually have a Yehuda, a Judah, son of Jesus. Of course, that's a big deal.
Son of Jesus.
Yehuda, son of Jesus.
Okay. What are the odds of that? I mean, how do you quantify those names all together?
It's about 175 to 1 in favor of the idea that this would be Jesus' family tomb. That's a big number, 175 to 1. You can't get those at the racetrack.
I'll take those odds any day.
Those are excellent odds.
We're talking about bone boxes, and
Yes.
of course, the first thing that comes to my mind is DNA testing. Has anything been done to test the bones to see who these people might be?
We were able to recover a few bone fragments from 2 of the ossuaries, the Mary Amene ossuary and the Jesus, son of Joseph ossuary. What we've been able to show from those tests is that this Jesus and this Mary Amene are not of the same family. So it preserves the possibility that she could be the wife.
They could have been married.
The DNA revelation is compelling, but the fact that there were bones in Jesus' ossuary at all is even more shocking. The Bible says Jesus' body and soul both ascended into heaven. So if his bones were in the tomb, that would call into question the story of Christ's physical remains.
I've been doing work on something called the hooked X, a mysterious symbol that I believe might be connected to your tomb. If you take a close look at this, Jesus ossuary, I believe this is an early version of the hooked X symbol. This apparently says Jesus, son of Joseph, starting right here.
Yes,
now,
it does.
What I'm interested in, and I think you've probably seen it already, is this X symbol right here. And I have a highlighted version of the same photo that shows the inscription more clearly, but that is an X that has a little hook on it. So we have my hooked X right here that's very reminiscent. Now, that's not part of his name. It's a standalone symbol.
It is clearly not part of the inscription.
Now, to me, it means something that I believe represents the fact that he and his wife, who I believe was Mary Magdalene, and many others do, that they also had children.
We know that the bloodline of Jesus carried out into the future. We have a fairly reliable historical source that tells us that the descendants of Judah were actually once brought before the Roman emperor out of concerns that perhaps the family of Jesus was still a potential trouble spot for the Roman Empire, and they were threatened with execution. And they only saved themselves by demonstrating that they were simple farmers.
And how did they do that?
They showed their bodies and showed their hands, and the Roman Emperor dismissed them as worthless peasants.
Everything that you've said so far is not inconsistent with my belief that the bloodline was indeed intact and still alive to this day.
The Templars were in a perfect spot to have seen this early version of the hooked X at the Talpiot tomb. The tomb was in Jerusalem, and so were the Templars. In 1099, they were there protecting Catholics on pilgrimages to the Holy Land. They were headquartered in a royal palace, where legend says the secrets of the Holy Grail were kept.
So, Scott, what other evidence do you have that connects the Templars to the Talpiot tomb?
Well, Jerry, I'm glad you asked me that because I've been dying to show you this picture. This coin dates to either the late 12th century, early 13th century. It's minted by the Templars. And Jerry, Look at the center of that coin. That looks like the Talpiot tomb.
I've spent years studying the hooked X, a mysterious symbol I first spotted on the Kensington Runestone, an artifact that details a pre-Columbian voyage to America in 1362. Since then, I've seen it in other places, including the Narragansett Stone in Rhode Island, which authorities say was stolen from Narragansett Bay. Both of these artifacts are associated with the Knights Templar. I believe the hooked X symbol stands for Jesus' bloodline, the belief that he and Mary Magdalene had a child. In fact, I just spotted an early version of the hooked X at the Talpiot tomb, where Jesus' bones may have been buried. Even stranger, there appears to be a connection between that gravesite and a coin minted by the Knights Templar in the early 13th century.
It's definitely a Crusader coin minted by the Templars. And if you look at the top here, you'll see we have a Templar cross. But I want you to take a look at that in the center. That looks like the Talpiot tomb. We have the upward chevron with the circle, the exact same architecture of the Talpiot tomb, and what I think is Jesus' face.
Very intriguing. This is a really kind of a remarkable coin. I've really never seen a coin that shows the chevron circle quite so plainly. This would actually be a potential representation of a first-century Jewish tomb. I don't know if I agree with the face idea. So that's something that I guess I'm going to remain skeptical about.
Okay, well, if this is, let's say, a cryptic depiction of the Talpiot tomb, it would be absolute conclusive evidence in my mind that the Templars were in this tomb back at the time of the First Crusade. And the timing of the minting of this coin is perfect. Very late 12th century, early 13th century. The Templars reportedly dug under King Solomon's temple in Jerusalem. Whatever they found, they took back to the New World.
I think one of the things they took was the Grail, this bloodline secret. I also think they might have taken treasure. Maybe the cup Jesus drank from at the Last Supper, gold, or even the Ark of the Covenant. The Grail could also be a combination of these things, or maybe something else entirely.
Very interesting hypothesis.
I believe the Templars eventually evolved into what is now modern-day Freemasonry, and that a very small sect within Freemasonry guards that secret and the bloodline to this day.
So what proof do you have connecting the Freemasons and the Templars?
Well, one of the most powerful pieces is the hooked X symbol itself that's found both with the Templars and in Freemasonry.
The hooked X is found on runestones in America, including the stolen Narragansett Stone and the Kensington Stone, which I think could have been a Templar land claim. It's found in Roslyn Chapel, built as a shrine to an alleged Templar prince named Henry Sinclair. It's found in the Larson Papers, Freemasonic documents that, to me, help prove the link between the Templars and the modern-day Freemasons.
This is really interesting stuff, Scott. I have myself thought along these lines, coming at it from a different angle, and I really think you're onto something important here.
Stick with me on this, okay? Have you ever seen this before?
No, I don't know what that is.
This is how Freemasons today pray. Now, they don't all do it this way with the hook, but I've had Masons tell me that they do put the thumb out to make the hooked X. If this isn't a tie between the medieval Templars and the hooked X on the documents they created and modern Freemasons, I don't know what is. Beyond all of this, have you ever heard of the Copiale cipher?
I've only heard a little bit.
The Copiale cipher is one of the most cryptic codes ever cracked, and a local guy found a connection in the document to modern Freemasonry. There's a hooked X in it, and the hooked X's in that document provide a critical clue to what it is and how the Templars and Freemasonry are connected.
This investigation started with the disappearance of the Narragansett Stone. While Rhode Island authorities search for it, I'll continue digging into the hooked X and what it means. My hunt for examples of this mysterious symbol is producing more and more evidence of Templar connections here in America. I think I know what the hooked X stands for, the Holy Grail. I think the Templars used the symbol to acknowledge the Grail's secret long ago, and that they passed the hooked X and the Grail on to the Freemasons. there's new proof the Freemasons used the hooked X symbol.
Well, Joe, you know I've been doing a lot of work with the hooked X. And recently, a document came forward I know you know a lot about called the Copiale cipher. There's a hooked X in it, which of course got me really excited. I know you've done a lot of work on this document, so tell me a little bit about it.
The Copiale cipher is one of the most cryptic ciphers ever cracked. It dates back to 1730. This was first decoded by a cryptologist and computer scientist in California and a team of language specialists. And they decoded the whole thing, but they left a few characters undecoded, including that symbol.
So they didn't know what it meant.
I can't say if they did or not.
So you think they may have, but you think they intentionally didn't tell people?
I'm not saying that either, but I mean, they left a few characters undecoded. That was one of them.
Look at these hooked X's all through here.
Everywhere. This is how it looked originally.
It's no wonder it took almost 300 years to decipher that.
This is some 43,000 single characters that were all handwritten.
Wow.
Well, this form of the hooked X in the Copiale cipher means Freemasonry, or Masonic, or Masonry itself. This is how it looks decoded. It's actually a secret manual for a group who called themselves the Oculists. They were Masonic-like, but they did some things that would have been controversial for the day, like they wanted to include women.
Included women. Interesting.
These guys were serious about what they were doing, and they thought they were better than other Freemasons.
So the Copiale cipher is a secret code book for secret society?
Absolutely,
Okay.
Yep.
I see all these symbols and signs, of course, the hooked X on this page.
Yeah.
But, I mean, give me an example. What does some of these lines say?
Let's go to my decoded version there.
Okay.
You know, we have sections in here that are talking about their rituals and their beliefs. Nobody outside of it should know anything about the secret institution of the order. So he made it not only a real secret group that nobody knew about, but he made sure that every single one of the members would never tell anybody about it.
This is like an 18th century James Bond movie.
It certainly has those flavors, doesn't it?
Wow.
You got to remember, this order, this group, they thought that they were better than everybody else in all of the Masonic world. And they taught their people all of the passwords for all Freemasonry, the door password to get into the lodge, and all of the ritual of that lodge. So as a member of the Oculist Order, you could waltz into any secret lodge anywhere and gain access without having been initiated into it.
So if you were ever invited in one of these orders, would you tell me?
Probably not.
I knew the answer to that question before I asked it. I also notice another symbol that's very interesting here, this double-barred Cross of Lorraine.
Yep.
When I was investigating some mysterious artifacts in Tucson, which I attribute to a precursor group to the Knights Templar, I found the Cross of Lorraine on a relic that was part of the collection. It provides strong evidence that the same symbols and codes were used by both Templars and Freemasons to acknowledge their secrets.
Well, you know, if you're into cracking codes, there's one you really have to check out. It's at Shugborough Hall in England.
Okay.
It's on a monument, and it's rumored to be connected to really all of this, Freemasonry, the Knights Templar, and it's also rumored to tell the location of something I think you'd be very interested in.
What is that?
The Holy Grail.
This investigation began in Narragansett Bay in Rhode Island. That's where I went to look into the disappearance of a huge boulder, an artifact with the mysterious hooked X symbol used by the Knights Templar. But my search has gone beyond that stone and that symbol to a secret code connected to the Templars. I'm meeting my friend Alan Butler, a Templar historian, at Shugborough Hall in England to look at one of the most mysterious, uncracked codes in existence. According to legend, it has something to do with the Holy Grail, and that's what I think the hooked X stands for.
Hi, Alan. How you doing?
Hi, mate. I'm well, and you?
Good to see you again.
Jolly good.
So where's this monument? I'm dying to see it.
Let's go and find it.
Okay, this way, huh? Oh. Oh, that's cool.
Recognize it?
You know, I do recognize it. This looks like the Poussin painting.
Nicholas Poussin's famous painting, Shepherds of Arcadia, shows shepherds gathered around a tomb. Some people think there's a hidden message in it, just like some people think there's a hidden message in Da Vinci's The Last Supper. Something in Shepherds of Arcadia may be connected to a rumored high-level Templar group called the Priory of Sion. Some have also theorized the painting could point the way to the Holy Grail.
That is the Poussin painting, except it's reversed.
That's right. In many respects, it's identical to Nicolas Poussin's painting, which was done in the 17th century in France.
But Poussin didn't make the Shepherd's Monument. It was created by Flemish sculptor Peter Scheemakers.
There are a few differences between this and the original picture, apart from the reversal. For example, there is another sarcophagus over the top of the original one.
On top, that
Yeah, that's
smaller
right,
one
yeah.
there?
It doesn't appear on the original painting. It seems to have been put here to emphasize that what the shepherds are looking at is actually a tomb. We also have the words et in Arcadia ego, which are the same as on the painting. This is Latin. It means I also in Arcadia, Arcadia being the heaven of the gods. And a lot of people think that it's full of uncracked codes, very similar to Da Vinci's Last Supper. People have suggested that that it may have something to do with the Grail, the bloodline of Jesus, if you like.
Mm-hmm. You got to take a step back, first of all, and ask the question, what is the Grail? I mean,
Exactly.
that's the age-old question.
Exactly.
Is it a physical object?
Yeah.
Is it treasure? Is it gold? Is it a concept?
Yes.
Is it knowledge?
Yeah.
Is it all of the above?
Yeah.
Now, let me ask you about something. I'm seeing some letters down here. What is this all about? With dots in between them.
These particular letters, O-U-O-S-V-A-V-V, with the D at one side and the M at the other, those don't appear on the original painting.
Right.
They're a completely separate thing, and they're the cause of one of the greatest puzzles in English artistic history. All sorts of people throughout the ages have tried to decipher what this might mean. Charles Darwin, the guy who wrote about the origin of the species, was one of them. And another one was Charles Dickens, you know, just about the most famous novelist in the English language. Dickens loved a puzzle. He spent months of his life trying to work out what this might mean.
He couldn't crack it?
He couldn't crack it.
So it's still uncracked?
Absolutely. As to the interpretation of it, there are lots and lots of different ideas, as you can imagine. It has been suggested, and I know you've dealt with this yourself, that the Grail itself may at one time have been in Oak Island in Nova Scotia. If you take each letter and its place in the Latin alphabet and appointing it a number.
Mm-hmm.
You can arrive at the number 2,810, which is the number of miles between Shugborough here and Oak Island in Nova Scotia.
Oak Island. I've been to Oak Island.
Yeah.
And this is supposedly where the Grail treasure is buried in what they call the money pit.
This particular monument and the painting of which it's a part has interested me for probably over 20 years now. And the one thing that connects both of these together is Poussin himself, the man who painted the original picture. Because Poussin is supposed to have been one of the Grand Masters of the Priory de Sion. And the Priory is rumoured to be a top-level Templar organisation that knew the location of the Grail.
But what really jumps out to me right away is I look at Poussin's painting where everybody is pictured this way, and on the carving we just looked at, it's reversed.
Yeah.
And one of the things that it could symbolize, or at least to me, is that if this is a discussion about the Grail, here maybe it indicates that it was in Europe at one time, and here it indicates that it's on the other side of the Atlantic.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think that this code, even though it hasn't been deciphered, is a critical clue to figuring out the mystery behind the Grail and the hooked X.
Yeah.
The hooked X is the key to this whole mystery. We've got it on the Kensington Runestone, which I've spent a dozen years studying, and I just completed a 3D study of the Kensington Runestone to confirm that there are mysterious punch marks in 4 of the letters. and they spell G-R-A-L. In medieval Old Swedish, it spells Grail. And we have the Narragansett Runestone, and unfortunately, that stone, which also has the hooked X, was recently stolen.
What?
It was stolen. We're working with local authorities. We're gonna find it. But there's one more piece to this puzzle. And it's a two-story round stone and mortar structure in Newport, Rhode Island, called the Newport Tower. The Newport Tower is a medieval-looking structure just 20 miles away from Narragansett Bay. It could provide more clues to this mystery. So we've got the hooked X, we've got the runestones, we've got the Newport Tower. They're all keys to the mystery of the Grail. And it's the Newport Tower where I'm heading next.
Okay.
When I was hired to conduct a forensic study of the Kensington Runestone 12 years ago, it was a typical job for me. But that ordinary assignment turned into a passion. From it, I concluded that the Kensington Stone was a land claim placed by the Knights Templar. The stone had a symbol nobody could identify, a hooked X. I've now seen it on Freemasonic documents, at Jesus' alleged gravesite, the Talpiot tomb, and on a handful of stones across the country, one of which was stolen and is still missing. I believe the hooked X is a symbol for the Holy Grail, part of a Templar treasure that includes proof that Jesus and Mary Magdalene had a child. It's a controversial secret, one the Templars were determined to protect. But where did the Templars hide the Holy Grail? The answer may be hidden inside the Newport Tower, located in Rhode Island. This structure may be the biggest and best proof yet that Templars made it to America long before Columbus. I'm not certain, but I'm not about to stop looking.